thank you to TT and Neelam for taking me up on this. So, did I hit the recording button? Yes, I did. So, number one, I want to acknowledge you guys for your resilience. Okay, people keep on saying it's a tough job market out there. The reason we're having a job search clinic is to, number one, to make sure that you're checking all the boxes as far as what's going out there, and then some. What I observed whenever we have sessions like this, hey, Sophia, when we have sessions like this, is it changes the mindset of the people that are in this conversation. And actually brainstorming for you guys as a support group for us moving forward. By the way, how many of you guys saw the video that I shared of the last job search clinic that we did over a year ago? I only had 2 people on that call back then. Have any of you seen it? No? Well, both of those guys have jobs. I just noticed that when I was like presenting the information. So I'm really hopeful, number one, that you took the offer to kind of like get you some information to like fix whatever is not working to help you get jobs. And number two, in the job search world, when we listen to the news or we listen to what's going on in the world, it seems like very bleak. But one of the things that I want to share with you is job search is really all about mindset. So here's something I want to start with. So think back to the Great Depression, like say, I think it was in the US or even global in the 1920s. People took that opportunity because of even the common psyche that people were like, oh, it's the Great Depression. Nobody's going to succeed in business. But actually, that's the time that people like the Rockefellers, et cetera, they built their businesses. They took advantage of the situation to get what it is that they wanted. So what I'm sharing for you guys, TT, Neelam, and Sophia, is though everybody's saying it's hard job market, we just have a new administration going into business. Sure, that's true. But by the same token, one of the other reasons we share in the LinkedIn group about all these success stories, and I suggest that after you get done with this, you actually go into the index, which we'll be speaking about more shortly, and you look at the success stories of your peers and visualize yourselves in their shoes. Because at some point, like I said, the people that I had on the job search clinic over a year ago both have jobs now. And I don't think the situation has changed much. It's always been a tough market, but you need to put in your minds that I've seen people that are getting hard in this situation. I am going to be one of those people who are going to get hired regardless. Okay, that's the attitude that you need to begin with. Okay, that's usually the component of job search that's missing. It's really your mindset, because whatever you think translates into your actions, translates into how you show up in the world. I could have 10 interviews, but if the mindset wasn't set up correctly, or I wasn't poised to win and, take the prize, if you will, you're not going to show up the best that you can. Okay. Are there any questions about what I shared so far? So that was the first part. Actually, I wasn't planning that. I had a slideshow, but that just came out as my message to the 3 of you who are actually showing up in this in person. And actually, some of the people will be listening to this eventually. So that's a timely message. I didn't plan it, but I was just sharing that with you. Any reactions to what I just said so far? TT, it looks like you're trying to say something, but you're muted.
I said not for me.
Okay, thank you. Sophia and Neelam?
I think it really does come down to mindset, because I've been trying to look at things positively. And even though I'm feeling a little discouraged, I'm like, I need to think positively, because that energy is going to come out and it's going to come back to you.
Yes. Very good, Sophia. And I want to kind of bring something to your attention. When I noticed that you gravitated towards think positively. Okay. There's a lot of talk about that stuff out there. It's like think positively. But, what if you were in a situation where you did have 10 interviews and everybody just flat out rejected you? I can't just like in the moment, because we're human also, just kind of like say, oh, no problem. I just think positive. I'll get another 10 more. So the thing that I wanted to add to what you just shared, Sophia, is because we're human, think positively is good, but I would start with meeting the situation, whatever it is, meeting the situation where you're at. We're human. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to be angry. You need to acknowledge all of those before you can move forward. And then as the next step, instead of just thinking positive, think of feeling just a little bit better from where you're at. If you're mad, whatever it takes to feel, because sometimes if I'm disappointed, the best solution to my being disappointed is maybe in a room, just scream my head out, right? Just to get that energy out of myself. And then because of that madness, from your point of saying think positively, disappointment, to think positively is hard. Maybe from disappointment, I need to get to mad first and scream my head out to acknowledge the disappointment. And then that's what I was saying earlier. Just face in the right direction and just feel a little bit better. Being mad about the situation was just a little bit better than disappointment. Are you guys getting this? So it's not necessarily, okay, I'm getting disappointed, all these bad things or whatever. I need to be positive. No, acknowledge what's going on first and just feel a little bit better from where you're at. And that way you keep progressing to eventually, sure, positive is what you want, but sometimes it's a hard connection between where you're at and where you want to be. And sometimes I hear this all the time: think positive, think positive. If I'm kind of like mad because I went through 5 rounds of interviews and it was like they were stringing me along, and then they say, oh, sorry, we can't hire you for whatever reason. I mean, can I think positive in that moment? Absolutely not. So reactions to what I said, which I think is very, very key in this mindset thing that we're talking about. What do you have to say, Sophia, Neelam, and Titi, with what I just shared about
I
thinking
I
just a little bit better?
I actually had an experience where they emailed me to schedule a phone interview, and I emailed back same day, a couple hours later, as soon as I had seen the email. And I had received no response until the exact week after, when, after following up, I even called their office a couple of times just to get that scheduled. They emailed me and they're like, actually, we changed our mind. So I was feeling a little disappointed. Honestly, I felt a little disrespected that they had wasted my time
Yes.
like that, because I feel like that wasn't professional at all. You could have done me the basic courtesy of a quick, just 5-minute phone call. And that's it. And then email me back. But then at the end of the day, I realized, maybe in hindsight, it was good that that happened. Maybe I wouldn't want to work for a firm that was disrespectful to, its applicants and its employees as well. So I looked at that, and then that disappointment turned into kind of like relief, like I dodged a bullet.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna keep going and keep applying, and I'm trying to remain optimistic. But yeah, there are those feelings, and
Mhm.
I try to talk to like my parents and like my
Mhm. That's
friends,
very
and they're
good.
always
You're
like,
finding outlets.
definitely stay optimistic because you've only scratched the surface.
Yeah. Talking to your parents. What else do you do, Sophia?
I
Neelam and
talked to
Titi,
my
feel free to chime in as well as to
I
what you
talked to
guys
my
do.
friends as well, who
Friends.
Yeah,
recently graduated
friends
college.
help.
So
Okay. What else? Okay.
I'm in a
So I
voluntary
had
community.
Go ahead. Titi.
Okay, I'm in a voluntary community where I volunteer. So I try to find activities. So I'm doing 2 voluntary communities. One is the Grace Upper and Itabi, where I represent them here in the Chicago event. And secondly, I'm also like a voluntary teacher for Microsoft Sale. So that's what I use to keep myself busy.
Okay. That's very, very good. I see that obviously one size does not fit all. And the reason I ask you guys what works for you, because what works for Sophia may not work for Neelam or whatever, or even when I'm explaining this. So that's why I keep on saying any reactions to what I say, because I'd want to dissect it further. I mean, the concept is there, but I want to see how to make it work for you specifically. So like I said, this is going to be a very, very interactive session. And thank you so much for your share so far. Feel free to jump in at any point in time. Before I proceed, any questions about what we've talked about so far and the importance of really working on your mindset in your approach to job search? Nothing?
no, you're good.
Okay. We'll just proceed to what I had ready for you guys. So which category do the three of you on this call fall into? Are you getting interviews? Neelam, TT, and Sophia?
Yes, I am. I've been getting interviews and I've been getting to the final stage, but unfortunately, I've not received an offer.
Okay.
Same for the second one.
You're getting interviews, but never getting offered a job. Who was that?
Me, Neelam.
Oh, Neil, I'm sorry. With Zoom, I mean, when you're presenting, I can't necessarily see who's. Just 1 second. Let me see if I can have a better screen where I see who's speaking. So, for TT, she's getting interviews. Neelam, you're interviewing, but you're not getting offered a job.
Yeah.
Is that the same case for you, TT? With your
Yes,
interviews?
yes.
Okay. What about you, Sophia? What's the situation for you?
I'm just applying and either not hearing back or just getting rejection emails, unfortunately.
Okay, rejection emails is part of the equation. So here's the other thing. It's like a sales job. You guys are really in the business of sales, and you're selling your skills and your background, obviously, is what's going on. So part of the sales process is it's that's why you always hear people talk about sales as being a numbers game. So you kind of reach out, reach out, reach out. It's like impossible to like send out all these applications and they just like, hey, we'll hire you, right? So part of the process is really the rejection and all that, and that's how we talked about mindset. The process is not ideal, it's not normal, if you will, and it's not easy, which you guys know. Okay, so how about this for the last? You're interviewing and finding out that they're not hiring non-US. Anybody fall into that
Sometimes,
category?
yeah, sometimes, like not every time, but
Okay.
yeah.
So what's your strategy so that that doesn't happen, Neelam?
For the non-US thing,
Yes. It's a very easy
uh,
fix, and I just want you to say it just for this call and for the people who are international. What's your solution to number 3 so that it doesn't happen, Neelam?
so for me, the visa thing is important, to be in the US market. So, I preferably check whether they are sponsoring or not, and if not, I try to like sometimes I do apply to those positions as well,
Hmm.
but then again, it has always been a strict no from
Yeah.
that side, so I stopped applying.
Okay. So what I heard you say was sometimes you research companies to see whether they're international friendly, and sometimes, you know, just I'm assuming because just a sheer desperation, I'm going to try anyway, and then they just reject you. So
Yeah.
the fast and easy solution, and you actually confirmed this based on what you just shared, is that was the advice I was going to say, but I wanted to hear your experience. So general rule of thumb for international folks is research the company first. Do not waste your time if they show
Right.
up that they're not international friendly. I mean, you have experience to that where you tried and it was a rejection anyway. So to the point that we made earlier, because rejections is part of it, why increase your number of rejections? You don't want to. Okay. So you reject them. You don't want international students? I reject you. I'm going to the next one. All right. So I hope you catch that point, and we'll show you some
Yes.
tools in the next slide to address that. Any others that we haven't covered? Or did the three of you, did I cover all of the categories that you could possibly be in your job search? Good?
Yeah. No, it was covered.
Okay. So this one. So if you guys are getting interviews, it doesn't sound to me like the resume is the problem. Okay. So I'm just going to go through this really, really fast. It happened that the last group that I spoke to, and that's why I say I make this very interactive, because I want to make it very relevant to the people who attend. Since you guys are who attended, I'm addressing your issues. So usually when you're not getting interviews, it's because your resume isn't highlighting what it is that that you need to highlight. Okay. So I'm going to make a statement. I want to hear each of your answers, whether it's agree or disagree. Okay. your resume is worded such that it's talking about your results and accomplishments to the prospective employers. That's why you're getting calls for interviews. I repeat, your resume highlights your results and accomplishments relative to what the companies are looking for so that you get an interview. Is that true in your case, Sophia?
Yes.
Okay, good. Neelam?
Yes. Yes.
TT?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So I'm just going to go through this really quick and then we'll jump into your specific issues. So your resume makes you stand out to employers by highlighting your education, experience, and skills. It's not a simple work history. A lot of people, they don't take the time. They just dump the information out there without thoughtful consideration of their audience, okay? If you're not thinking like the reader, then you're not effective. That's why we're saying that your resume is a marking tool that shows the best, that you are the best choice per their job description. Okay, you guys are with me so far? And you guys would agree with me that the reason you're getting calls for interviews is because you're fitting what you're seeing on the screen, right?
Right.
So you want to rise above the crowd with tailored content. So Sophia, you're tailoring your content to the job description?
Well, at least to my resume. My resume is kind of like talking about my experience. I do have some accomplishments in terms of like study abroad on that. I really feel like that does set me apart from maybe a couple of applicants. But after this, I am going to go back and revise my resume and
Yeah,
definitely talk more about
this
my
is key.
accomplishments.
Okay, so
Yes.
Sophia, I rephrased my question. When you're applying for jobs and you see a job ad, and this applies to both Neelam and Titi, okay? You study the job description, you take a look at what they're looking for, and then you introspect into what your results are and your accomplishments, not that you know how to do what they're doing. Do you see the difference that I'm trying to bring out? I highlight your results and accomplishments relative to what they're looking for, not just that you can do it. Okay, you can do it. Anybody can say, I can do it. But when you talk about results, they can't question it. It's a fact. Do you see the distinction I'm trying to make?
Yes.
Neelam and Titi, reactions
Yes.
to that?
Yes.
All right.
But I have a question. So, like now at the current job market, I graduated in May, and after that, I've been interviewing, or maybe I've been applying and applying, but every time it becomes hard for me to tailor the resume as per the job description. So it is like you do, if you don't do mass applications, sometimes like I tried the things that you told me previously when we met, tailor the resume and then apply to specific set of companies where you think you are great at it, but then eventually when as the time is passing and the days are like increasing, so I feel tailoring it becomes very difficult to do it as per every job and every company. So and then the mass application doesn't happen.
So you
The
shifted
number
from,
of calls has decreased if I do that.
okay, hang on. So
Okay.
you were tailoring and then you
Mhm.
were kind of like getting desperate because you weren't getting it. So you just sent up mass application. Is that what you said?
Not every time, once or twice I have received a call, but then again, yeah, you got that, I guess.
Okay, so you were
Mhm.
tailoring and then you didn't seem like you were getting results. So you went to mass application and then what's the result?
Yeah, something like I don't get all the calls that I apply for, but then at least one or two, the ratio has increased for me at least.
Okay. Aditya, welcome to the call. Please turn your camera on. This is being recorded, but I was sharing with your colleagues on the call that part of this interview is if you're not getting jobs, part of what I want to coach you guys on is how you're showing up on video, because sometimes that's kind of part of the interview. So if and when you can, please feel free to come with camera but feel free to jump into, okay, I scared him away. So, um, so reactions, Titi and Sophia, to what Neelam just said. No
Okay.
reactions?
Okay, so I don't really have a reaction, but I think I understand what you're saying. So what I do sometimes is look at what the company is requesting for.
Actually, they're not requesting it, okay?
Okay.
They have the job, I would think, stronger than requesting. They're demanding this, to your point, if you want to get it. That is not a request.
Okay, demanding for.
Well, I guess demanding would be strong. I just wanted to switch what you said in that they're requesting. They're not requesting. They have a job, they have it open. These are our requirements. Fit it or you don't get it.
Okay.
As simple as that.
Okay, so that
Thank you,
the
Aditya.
advice for each company, we should have, like, what I do is, like, I have a folder, name the resume I used for that company. Then I will apply for the job. Then during the interview, I would prep with that resume I use. But I noticed that, for example, I'm looking for a project management role. Some of these companies require, as a project manager, they want you to have some data analytics skills. And
hang on a second. May I interrupt you, TT? Just 1 second. While I'm listening to TT, if you guys in the background could have your resume set up, because part of this is going to go into, I'm going to spot check your resumes to see what, my first impressions. Okay. So go ahead, TT, continue your conversation.
For example, when I was trying to interview for a project management role, all of a sudden they didn't request for data analytics skills. So they wanted me to know how to use MySQL and some other data analytics skills, which I felt was extremely wrong. So, like, few days to the final interview, I was forced to, like, try to quickly learn MySQL. And I was requesting for a project management role that was non-technical. That was the description, and I fitted the box. How do you advise I maneuver something like that? Because when I was reading some requests, some, like, stories on LinkedIn, when people were like, oh, if you're applying for this job and they ask for something else, don't proceed with the interview. Do you think that is right?
Well, that's kind of like a decision that you have to the point that Sophia was making earlier. You have an expectation of the company. When you're interviewing for a job, sure, they're looking for somebody to hire, but you're also checking out whether they are a company that you want to work for. Kind of like Sophia said earlier, right? That little unprofessionalism that kind of happened, that sounds similar to your case. Would you agree? So at that point in time, you have to make a decision. Do I want to pursue this as practice? Especially if you're not getting interviews. That would be one way. You could use them to practice your interview skills. But yeah, because of these requirements, they're changing it in the back. Number one, maybe they're not a company that I want to work for. Number two, this is what I applied for because I knew I qualified. And then they shifted the requirements in the middle of the application. Maybe I don't want them because that's indicative of the type of company that they're at. What happens if I get the job and they're going to be shifting requirements on me when I work for them? Did that kind of resonate with your situation, TT? Or was there another angle?
No, yeah, right. It did.
Okay. So at that point in time, you make that decision. Just as much as they're looking for somebody to hire, you are looking for somebody that you could call home to do the work that you love. Okay. That's kind of like part of this mindset thing. You guys don't need to give up as well. And one of the things that I want to share with you for any company is you have to advocate for yourself. Okay. They're advocating for themselves. Companies will not think twice if their numbers weren't good and they had to fire you. I repeat. Okay. I'm just going to bottom line this. Any company, okay, their bottom line is always their money-making ability. They will not think twice of saying, sorry, goodbye. So any job that you get in corporate, always think out for your best interests. So in your case, this is in the beginning where you're thinking if whether you want to work for them or not. If I were you, TT, I would use the practice in the interview. Okay. Anything else to add to that particular discussion? Otherwise, I'm going to ask Aditya to share with us what the situation is with your job search. Are you applying? Are you getting interviews? Are you interviewing, but you're never getting the final job, or any other issues that I haven't talked about?
Hey, good morning.
Yes. Morning.
Currently I have been interning at CTA, So that's one of the good thing. But I'm feeling it difficult to land a full-time job as of now. So I guess the job application or the way I've been applying or the approach is getting failed, I guess. So that's what I'm like curious about. Like,
Are you getting interviews?
yeah, a couple of them I'm
Okay.
getting those. Yep.
Okay.
But not to the rate at which I've been applying. If the
Okay.
rate is too high, by which I'm applying, the interview rate seems to be very low compared to that.
Okay. So this is what I was talking about. When you jumped in, Aditya, I was talking about the three situations is people are not getting interview calls. If they're not getting interview calls, that's a resume problem. Okay. And then most of your colleagues, you know, Neelam, Sophia, and Titi said that the resumes were okay. They were getting interviews. But as I was starting to drill into the situations, people were kind of like, yes, no, it doesn't work. Neelam, for example, shared that she had a conversation with me before. She was tailoring her resume and then she felt she wasn't getting results. She changed her strategy. She kind of went for the spray and pray methodology. Do you guys know what spray and pray methodology is? You kind of like blast out your resume out there, cross your fingers and pray, hoping that somebody's going to call you. Okay. So she shifted to that. And then she says, it's kind of working. It still wasn't working. Okay. So, okay, I get what you're at. Anybody have anything to share before I continue with that presentation and dive deeper into the resume? And then I'm going to ask you guys to share your resume with me. I'm going to give you a first impression based on what I see, even if you said that you were already getting interviews. If you were already getting interviews with the resume that you're about to present to me, I assure you that after you apply what I'm talking about, you'll get even more interviews. Does anybody like that? Would you want that?
Yes.
All right, good. So let's see, where were we at in the presentation before I shift to this? So the whole idea is you rise up above the crowd with tailored content, okay? So that's the importance of why you need to speak their language. And I repeat this for Aditya's purposes. The whole idea in job search is you study their job description, okay? You study it. Notice I didn't just say read it. You study it. And then the next process is for you to introspect what your results are. Not just that you've done what they want, but what you accomplished in what they want. Do you see the distinction? You don't just tell them after reading the job description that, yes, I can do that. You say, I did it, and these are my results in what you want. That's what's going to make you rise above the crowd. Okay? And then the next piece is ensure that you command the busy employer's attention with your results. So let's speak about this for a second. Results. Why is that important versus just telling them that you know how to do it? I want to see your thoughts.
Make them know that you have already done it. So that's how you portray your results to them instead of just saying that I am going to do this or I want to do this.
Or I've
If you have
done it.
done it, that's a plus. Yeah, done it.
Well, or I've done it. A lot of people say I've
I've
done
done
it.
it. Yes.
No, but that's not good enough. Why is that not good
Okay.
enough? Just to say that I've done it is not good enough. Go ahead, Sophia.
Because you could have done it, but you might not have good results, which is
Very
what they're
good.
looking for.
Very good. And if I'm a hiring manager, guess what I'm looking for? I'm trying to weed out who can do the job with. If you tell me that you had results in what I want, you're high on my list. You guys get that distinction? That's why when we take a look at resumes, which we will see very shortly, is the way that you're describing the jobs that you did. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to do this opposite than the way I normally do calls. The usual way people write their resumes is I did it. And this is how they say they did it. For example, I'm a floor sweeper and the job is I swept the floor. That's what shows up on the resume. I did it. I swept the floor. And then to give some indication of impact, they say, I swept the floor fast. You're the hiring manager. What does that really say? Versus candidate B says, I led a team of 5 floor sweepers, introduced a process improvement that reduced sweeping time from 60 minutes to 5 minutes.
That's what I've done. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
How about the rest of the other three? Do you guys feel that your resume is doing that?
Yeah, I've been representing that in terms of percentages, like how the process improvement was done as part of the work which I've been doing. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see that shortly when I take a look at your resume. Sophia and TT,
Yes, I think I have
you
like
think you're
what
doing it? Okay,
yeah.
I'll be the judge of that when I see your resume. But I like that you're thinking that way, Sophia.
I kind of have like a two-part resume because I had majored in architecture, so I do have my portfolio as well linked in
Oh,
my
yes.
resume.
For architecture,
Um,
portfolio is a separate thing, but the resume needs to catch their attention. And sometimes you do it in conjunction, right?
Yeah, so I kind of talk about things I did, and I also have like a list of the projects that I worked on, and like kind of like a short explanation just to show that I
Okay, hang on,
do.
hang on, hang on.
Yes.
Explanation. That's prime real estate to talk about the results. Do you get the distinction that I'm trying to bring out with Sophia? She goes that she has her portfolio and then she talks about what she did. Okay, I'm trying to catch it before I even see what Sophia has to present. Where she said what she did is the prime spot where she could be talking about her results to have the ability to rise above everybody else. Because guess what everybody else is doing, Sophia? They're describing. Questions? And then I'm going to ask Neelam to share her resume. All right, Neelam, please share away. Is this helpful so far, guys? Okay. If I'm
Yes.
not steering in the direction that applies to you, I need to hear about it so I can address it, okay?
Okay, I have a quick question.
Go
How
ahead.
do you want us to share our resume?
On the screen, so you have it on a side thing, and then you're going to share your screen.
Okay.
I think we don't have the option to share our
I
screens.
thought I cleared that before we started. Yes, you do.
Oh,
Neelam sharing. Because I fixed that before I even got on the call, because I knew I was going to be asking you guys to share.
okay, thank you.
So gut reaction from TT, Aditya, and Sophia. Start from the top, please. Phone number. Okay. First comment, Neelam, get rid of the +1. It's indicating big time international. Okay, get rid of that. Just put 773 because locals don't put +1. You're muted if you're trying to say something. You can take your notes on the side. You don't need to make changes while we're talking, just in the interest of time. So get rid of +1s for international because locals don't put +1. That's kind of like
Okay.
screaming international right there.
Okay. Understood.
Next one. You
I just
yeah, I know. I'm having the same problem. Maybe he just like move it out of the view.
okay.
There you go. They suggest for international students that you use your school ID, but they're getting rid of that for alums. So I guess
Okay.
I can't comment on that. You put your LinkedIn and then okay. Technical skills. So her first job experience has designed and developed plugin jars in Java, which will enable the creation of customized ETL validating. Is she talking about a result or is she describing?
Not yet because I have not like I've just started, so
Okay.
not talking about results
Okay,
here.
hang on. Let me just grab this, all right? Neelam is explaining her situation to me, but a resume, you have no opportunity to explain. Guess what the first thing that I see in this resume is? Her first bullet, and it's not very impressive. And Neelam's
Okay.
explaining it. She's like, oh, yeah, I'm new here, blah, blah, blah. You don't have that opportunity to do that. So you're getting points. It's diminishing already as I'm reading your resume. And that was just the first bullet that I looked at. Anybody learn from that share with my comment to Neelam? Okay, so I'm relating this back to what we said about job description, and then how do you do that? So I have a solution for you, Neelam, in that you catch their
Okay.
attention sooner. So from the perspective of relevance, Actually, I need to give you guys some tools so that you can apply what's being shared with you. Neelam, you're going to keep this open because we're going to come back to this. Can you open up the LinkedIn page, go to the LinkedIn group, and then with the index?
This one?
Sophia is new to the group. So if you could please explain how you get there, Neelam, for Sophia. And I don't know if TT and Aditya are in the career services group. Career services. I know Sophia just joined this.
This
TT,
one?
are you part of this group? Click that and then click groups, not people, groups. TT, are you part of this?
This one, right?
Yes. Aditya, are you part of this?
I will have a check.
Is that a yes or a no?
I guess I am.
Okay, you need to be part of this because part of the discussion is giving you resources so that this conversation does not end at 11:30. So what Neelam is doing now, first of all, you need to join if you're not part of it. I know I just approved Sophia's. If you are part of this group, I'm showing you the important document in this group. So Neelam is going to scroll down slowly until she sees in a comment that says index. Keep scrolling down until you see it. Keep scrolling down until it says index. Don't need to open links. There you go.
Yeah.
This index is put as a comment on all of the posts when we catch it so that people
Yeah.
can say that so that you can find this index. All right. So what you're seeing on the screen was a bunch of links that were follow-up conversations to career services appointments. However, once we shared this with the students were like, wow, what a collection of useful information. So we had to figure out a way to make this an index. So the way we came up with was to do a hashtag topic. So if you notice, the first topic is hashtag alumni. So keep scrolling down, please. Next topic is hashtag business relations. Scroll all the way down to hashtag resume, please. Bless you, Sophia. Bless you again. Oh, I think TT dropped. Is TT still on the call? That's why she wasn't answering.
Yep.
The reason we did the hashtag is so you can do a Control R or a Control F or Command F.
Yeah, control.
So under hashtag resume, go to resume design principles. That's kind of the 8th bullet. But before you click that, I want to call the attention of the participants to that workshop. There's about 9 workshops that are recorded that are sessions just like that specifically for resumes. And then under the workshops, it says case studies. So case study old is the resume the student brought to career services, and then case study better is after they work with career services. So now when Neelam clicks resume design principles, open that please. So in the second part where it says for effective resume, I just showed you guys the index. I just showed you guys hashtag resume. I showed you the workshops. I showed you the case studies. And you also have content that talks about using artificial intelligence to help improve your bullets. Okay, but let's go back to the very top. Resume design principles. No, you're still on that page. Resume design principles. So what do you think I'm going to highlight in number 1? We already spoke about it. I've been talking about it for the last few minutes. You need to focus on what?
Think like you are hiring.
You need to focus on what?
Results.
You need to focus on your results relative to the job description. That's what I need you guys to get out of number 1. Okay, so let's go back to Neelam's case. She's applying for a certain job, but the first thing that I see, if I were that hiring manager, was her not related information. So guess what? Her points are going down as far as to whether I should call her in or not, because that was the first impression I got. Okay. And then number 2, relative to what we're talking about, hiring managers have a lot of time or little time?
Little time.
Very little time. And because of that, nobody can argue that, okay? So the whole idea is if they do not have a lot of time to look at your resume, you need to give them the information much, much sooner. And the information that you need to give them is what they're looking for. You need to give that information sooner versus later. So back to Neelam's resume. The first thing that you could see in her resume was something that was totally unrelated, right? So I'm a very busy hiring manager. So I just read the first thing, not related. And then I go to the second one. So she says, develop and implemented software solutions that integrate database. First bullet, is she describing or is she giving results?
Describing.
Yes. So here's my question. When you say you developed, what was the time frame for you to develop this? You had a deadline, obviously. Did they just say finish it whenever you can, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was your deadline? 5 months, 2 months, what?
Yeah, during the project.
How long are we talking?
2 months. Yeah.
Okay. Did you finish it ahead of 2 months or no?
Yeah.
Did you finish it on time or did you finish it a week earlier? What?
Earlier.
Did you see how I'm drilling Neelam with this information? Because if I say I delivered the project 1 week ahead of schedule, do you think that's something that they're looking for you to do when they hire you? Okay. But the way Neelam described this, go back to that. You just say you develop and implemented software solutions to integrate bases, and then you just describe that, right? So you're not really talking any impact in what you have. So again, this is the second experience that you're looking at. The way that we're wording it isn't very powerful. So back to your dossier, scroll back up, please. So the first thing I saw was software developer. You said that wasn't very important because you were new. And then the second software developer from the job titles that you're applying to is software developer 2, the most impressive thing that you want them to see. She's taking too long. I'm assuming it's a no.
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
I said for the job titles that you're applying for, is your second software developer the most impressive work that Neelam did relative to that job description?
You mean, is this the second one?
No, we're trying to impress people, okay? So if I've had 5 jobs, okay, I'm looking for a job title. This is what they're looking for. My most impressive one is this 4th one because that's what they're looking for. My second most impressive is this one. Sometimes it falls in nicely that, what's the most impressive? This one. What's the next impressive? This one, this one, this one. But that's not usually the case. So but when I'm reading chronologically, your first one, you said you were new, so that's not impressive. I'm assuming your second one's impressive.
The terms you said that are missing.
No. It's impressing the hiring manager. They had a job description, right? So I'm going to change the way to answer the question. According to your background and according to what they're looking for, what in your resume is most impressive? Only you know this. And this isn't just Neelam I'm talking to. You guys that are not sharing your screen, you have an answer to that question that I just gave. I repeat, according to the job title that you're applying for and their job description, what part of your resume do you want them to see first? Because it's the most impressive. What's your answer, Neelam?
So in my case, it is more about the things that have been like what they need as a skill in their
You don't have the ability to explain this. So the way you have it in your resume, you need to point to me. Is the most impressive software developer the first one, or software developer the second one, or is it software analyst? Scroll down further. Or is it the persistent systems, or is it your project that's most relevant? You see how you're trying to explain this to me, Neelam? But when they read your resume, you have no opportunity to explain.
Okay.
So you see how I'm curating the information so that you're more effective to the reader. I repeat the question. You have 4 work experiences and how many projects?
4.
Projects.
4.
Projects.
Uh,
You have 2 projects. Of the 6 experiences, which one is most impressive for what you're applying to?
For me, it
It's
is
not for you.
okay,
You're
okay,
not
okay.
hiring yourself. I repeat the question. Are you guys noticing how I'm kind of like shifting the way you guys answer questions? Because that
Yeah.
is very indicative of how you're approaching the job search. Okay. Did you notice how Neelam goes to answer my question? She's like, for me, I'm like, Neelam, you're not hiring yourself. So I repeat the question. According to the job descriptions you've read, which of the 6 experiences do you want them to see first? Because it's going to highlight you.
This would be the
No,
first.
no. Just pick one of the
Okay.
6. Now I can understand why you're not getting the jobs. Because you know what happens? If you can't explain this in the resume, you're not articulating yourself in the interview. Okay, let's get Neelam off the spot a little so she can think. I want to hear reactions from the other people. Are you guys understanding what I'm trying to do with Neelam? Thank you, by the way, for volunteering your resume to talk about. Okay, I want to give you some breathing time to process what I said a little bit, but I want to hear what the listeners saw from what was happening. Aditya, Titi, and Sophia. It's either I explained it beautifully or I made no sense to you guys at all. I need to hear the questions so I can help you.
Yeah, Bernie, it was really good. Like you placed yourself as a recruiter, and we were getting to know like what actually the recruiter in the upfront is looking over.
So you got that perspective from this
Yeah.
discussion with Neelam?
Yeah.
Are you seeing applications of the discussion with Neelam to your resume?
Yeah. And now I'm doubting my resume
Okay,
after
good.
hearing this.
Which is fine. That's why we're here. That's why we can talk about it. Okay. So I like it that you're doubting your resume and I'm putting some bugs into your ear. I mean, because that's why we're calling it a clinic. We're trying to dissect what the problem is. Okay. So very good. Very good, Aditya. Anything else you needed to add to that? So I'm glad that your view has kind of shifted to the perspective of what are the people's responses to what I'm sharing. And it has to be what they're looking for because we said they're very busy. I'm glad you had that realization. Sophia?
Sorry, my dogs are barking now.
Yeah, no worries.
So definitely I feel like when in this exchange that you and Neela were having, I noticed that she was kind of unsure. And I feel like definitely when you're selling yourself, you have to be confident, you have to be charismatic, you have to speak like you're the one that they want. Like you're selling yourself basically, and like you mentioned earlier. So definitely I think confidence definitely has a play in this. And then definitely just like knowing like I did this, I can do this, here are my results. Be straightforward too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
definitely with
what was
this
missing though
exchange
with
and one
Neelam,
thing.
I think Neelam has that. She knows what she did. But to me, it sounds like she hasn't applied it yet. She knows where she's strong. The resume just doesn't do it. So part of this discussion is you need to spend some time to thinking where you're standing out relative to their job description, because when you're doing it in your resume, guess what happens during the interview? You're talking about the same exact thing, just in person.
Okay, so does I'm just asking this thing. So do I need to put the measures here, like
No, let me help
how?
you. So let me ask you,
Yeah.
that's why I ask you the question, because I'm going to give you the tools eventually. So according to the job
Okay.
description, which of these 6 experiences is the best match to what's being looked for by the job titles you're applying to? You have 6.
Okay.
So which one is your
Yeah.
top experience?
The second one.
This software developer with Illinois Tech?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even the third one, it helps me
In
get
emphasis?
that. Yes.
Okay. Just for the purposes of our discussion, Neelam's segment 1, or her top priority, I'll call her top priority segment 1, is her second software developer. Her segment 2 is software analyst. Okay. What's your segment 3?
It would be this.
Okay. What's
with
your segment
persistence.
for?
My projects.
Don't just say your projects because they don't know this.
Okay.
See, part of the problem
Okay.
is you need to tell them exactly what your strengths are. You don't just say, oh, just read it and then, yeah.
Okay, yeah, this one. With
Which
the
one?
Quora.
Quora?
Yeah.
So you're kind of like hesitating. You have 6 pieces of information. Are all 6 relevant to the job description?
No, for me,
Okay. Okay. Hang on.
yeah, okay.
Did you guys hear her answer? She said no. We said they're very busy. Do not include information that is not relevant. So which one was that, Neelam? Which one is
Maybe
the
with
one not relevant?
the last with the persistent one.
Which one? Persistent
This
systems?
one. Yeah.
So here's what to do in a case like Neelam just described. She lists persistent systems, July 17, 2018, software engineer, but she doesn't put any bullets because she does not want to waste the time of a very busy hiring manager. She just wants them to know that she worked from July 2017 to 2018. That's all. Anything else that's not relevant?
No.
Okay. Are there questions about what I just recommended to Neelam? And do you understand the motivation of why we're telling Neelam to get rid of it? It's really driven by the very busy hiring manager. And here's
Okay.
another premise that I want you guys to consider, okay? I call it character ninja. And I just character ninja'd Neelam's resume. I got rid of like 3 bullets, okay? Character ninja. So here's the key question for you guys. What is more inviting to read? Something that is full of information and characters, or something that has more white space?
So the thing is, like
I
you
asked a
said,
question. I asked
okay.
a question. Interview practice. Answer the question, please. Or at least acknowledge my question. And Neelam, this is part of interviewing, okay? You could say,
Okay.
oh, I heard your question, but I need to clarify that for a second. Did you notice how she just jumped in and she switched the topic? I'm training you
Okay,
guys
okay,
on interview.
sorry.
No, I'm glad you did it actually, so that I can coach you. I'd
Right.
rather you do it with me versus do it during
Mhm.
the interview. So now I forgot my question. What was my question?
What looks more inviting? Something
Yes,
full
thank
of
you.
text or something with
Yes.
more white space?
What's more inviting? Something with more white space or something that's jam-packed with characters and information? And the obvious answer is something with more white space. So think about this. It's 4:30 on a Friday afternoon, like today. It snowed yesterday. It was pretty bad. I'm probably trying to catch up on work today. And then it's Friday afternoon at 4:30. I just read 1,000 resumes. And guess who the next resume is? Neelam's. So what's more inviting to read at that point? Something that gives me the information that I want quicker with more white space, or something that's jam-packed with information? Human beings would pick white space all day, any day. Are you seeing how it's not just, I mean, this is partly psychology also in your job search, right? Do you guys catch that point? So Neelam, what was your question?
Yeah. So that you said the white spaces is better than the word he thinks.
Well, I didn't just
So
say it. What do you think?
yeah. So for that, I have something like for us being an international student, I have faced this. Like, if you don't show your experience again, I can mold this. Like, I can keep this change to the impacts that I've had. But
Well,
then,
is it relative
if
to what they're looking for?
maybe my
Maybe
construction
is not a
has,
good answer.
okay, no,
Did you see how
no,
she's trying to negotiate with me?
yeah,
Did you guys
okay.
catch this? This is all part of the mindset that we talked about earlier.
Mhm.
Okay. I see that part of your strategy is to say, hey, I can do all of these things. That's part of your strategy, really, is what you're telling. That's why I want to include everything, hoping that something will resonate with you. The problem is they do not have a lot of time. So you with that strategy can bring them up during the interview. Don't do it on your resume.
Okay.
Because the job of the resume is to get you the interview. Make sense?
Yep.
Very good question. I'm glad that I'm like squashing some of the things that you guys are thinking of as strategy, but nobody can argue that the reader does not have a lot of time. They're looking for what they're looking for. Okay, who wants to go next? So that Neelam can breathe and she can give comments with somebody else's resume. Thank you, Neelam. Who wants to go next?
You're welcome.
I could go next.
All right,
Nobody
TT, go ahead. Does everybody have to go at 11:30? I can stay
No.
longer for you guys, okay? Because I want this to be useful for you. And then if we get into it, we can extend past 11:30 if we need to.
Okay.
All right.
Mhm.
Chicago, Illinois, I would add the zip code, especially if you're sending it out to companies. You can just take notes on the side. She has her LinkedIn summary. I'm going to ask you the same question, TT. Based on the job, how many job titles are you applying to, by the way?
One,
Okay,
anything
one.
related to projects management.
Okay, you're looking for a project management job. So according to the project management job descriptions that you're reading, how many experiences do you have? You have Hub Grid, you have Net I Plus. Okay, so you have two. So off the two, which one is the most impressive?
The upgrade one.
The Hub
Both
Grid
of them
and
are actually impressive, but the upgrade one is like more or less my
you need
recent.
to make that decision for them, okay? Did you notice how you said both of them are impressive? They're very busy. They're not going to decide for you. You tell them.
Oh,
Did you get the
okay.
distinction?
Yeah.
Okay, because they don't have a lot of time. They're not thinking what is relevant to what they're looking for. Because if you don't make that cut, your resume just went to the garbage can. So which of the two? Is it HubGrid or NetPlus?
Upgrade.
Okay. So if we talk about HubGrid, she said manage a team of 10 staff. Very good. She talked about 10 people responsible for the development, execution, client. Okay. So her first bullet, I'm going to give you guys another concept. She kind of spaced out her first bullet, gave a bunch of details, but I suppose that she has other things that are more important than those details. So she managed a team. She led and managed various payment integration projects. How many?
More than 10.
Okay, so do you hear the difference between led and managed 10 plus integration projects versus led and managed various payments? Are you seeing how I'm pulling out your results?
Okay.
You need to bring this all out, okay, to give them a sense of your impact. Because 10 plus projects is much, much more impressive than the way you worded it.
So I should include
Marina,
a
hang on.
number.
We just got joined by a new person. Sorry, TT, go ahead.
So you're trying to say I should include a number to the total number of projects I manage. So I should be specific.
Well, if the idea is to give them, because these guys, you're giving your document to strangers. You know what you did. They have no idea. So it's your job to paint a picture for them so that they get how impactful you are. Right? I mean, you're thinking, oh, yeah, I'm going to impress them when I get to the interview. The problem is the resume is the gating to the interview. So if you don't pass the resume because you didn't paint the picture that you're impactful, then you don't get the call. So remember what I said earlier, if you guys are getting interviews now with your resume versions, you'll get even more interviews once we start talking about how great you are. It sounds like you guys already are. You're just not articulating it for them.
That's it.
Make sense?
Yes, makes sense.
Okay, cool. So I guess you need to do some work on your your bullets, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullets. Question to you: is this arranged from top priority to least priority for hub grid?
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Same thing, I'm assuming, with Net Plus.
Yes. Top
Okay,
to list.
very good. So, can you open up the LinkedIn page, TT?
Okay.
I'm going to give you some more resources based on what you have.
Okay, let me just. Please hold on.
I hate when that happens.
Mhm.
Sometimes it depends on the browser that I have open, but it happens to me all the time. Any questions meanwhile while we're waiting for TT?
I think I so needed this with you, Barney.
The conversation?
Yeah,
Oh, good. I'm glad you joined today then.
yeah.
And you guys
Okay,
are
so this.
helping. Yeah, go to the search box, type in Illinois Tech Career Services. Group. Very good. It showed the group. And then view posts. And then you just scroll down until you see an index comment. Scroll down until you see it. Keep scrolling. There you go. I just saw one.
Should I
Yes.
I should open it?
Open it, please. And then do a Control F, hashtag resume. Control or Command F, hashtag resume.
It's not working from my hand.
You just
Control
scroll
F.
down. Just scroll until you get to resume. It's
Okay.
alphabetical. So go to hashtag resume.
Yeah.
So under hashtag resume, case studies, okay? I want you to click case study 5, better. Case study 5 is a freshman. Click it.
Okay. Case 35.
Better. Go to the actual resume, please. And then bottom right of the resume, click the square so that you enlarge the resume. And then click plus to make it bigger for the viewers, please.
Okay.
So take a look at the experience of Benjamin first.
Mm-hmm.
So when I talked to Benjamin, I said, which of your experience is most impressive? So he kind of, like I asked Neelam earlier, he goes, this one, this one, this one. And then what he did was, instead of waiting for the reader to get into the experience part, he grabbed his most important bullets from the experience and put it in the summary. So read Benjamin's summary, and then we'll go back to your resume. And I want you to tell me, which resume do you think is more effective to the reader, Benjamin's or yours? So observations from the group about Benjamin's summary. What do you think, Neelam and Sophia?
It's brief and straight to the point. He highlighted his
Straight to the
success.
point. Straight to what point?
Point of is what he achieved in his career, the success in his career and his academy.
Very good. So what's the points that he's thinking according to the job description that the reader is looking for? Do you see how this addresses design principle number 2? You could create a summary if you wanted to and do it the traditional style, which I suspect you did when we go back to your summary, or you could decide not to have a summary at all. A summary is not required, but sometimes it's a strategic tool to accomplish what you need to present based on your background. Are you catching that, Sophia?
Yeah.
So let's go back to your resume, please,
Okay.
TT. We're jumping back and forth, so.
It's fine. I need it.
So back to TT's resume. Take a look at what she said in her summary. Experienced professional. How do I know your experience? Because you're giving this to a stranger, right? And then you're seeking a project management role. I'm very busy. I'm assuming you wouldn't present this document to me if you weren't seeking a project management role, which I'm assuming is the job that you gave. So your first two sentences, you're kind of like wasting their busy time already, right? And then you could say where you can utilize something else. From the hiring manager's perspective, they actually don't care what you want to do. Okay. If you guys notice, I'm like bottom lining all my conversations to you guys, right? You can say that you want to utilize it. They don't care about what you want. They're trying to hire somebody to make their company money.
Yes.
Right? Because it's a business, right? With my skill sets to tackle. So by you kind of wasted the first three spaces. The 5 years, however, would have been, I would have put it above instead of saying experience. Do you see what I'm bringing to the surface here, TT? I would have said 5-year experience versus experienced professional. That's a
Okay,
fact.
okay. To summarize what you said, I have to there are some filler words, unnecessary words
A lot of filler words.
yes, and the first three. So I should just jump straight to the point.
Well, that's why I gave you the example of Benjamin. Are you making the connection?
Yes, I am.
Their job description is asking for something very specific. Benjamin's strategy was, okay, I know what you want. I know what my highlights and my accomplishments are relative to what you want. I'll talk about that at the top of my resume. I'm not wasting your time. I mean business. You're saying this is what you want. This is what I accomplished. This is what I accomplished. This is what I accomplished. Essentially, you're saying, call me in for an interview.
Okay.
Reactions?
Yes, it makes
Questions?
sense. So, okay, so I have two things I need to do. The first part is be specific and give a number on the bullet points I made.
Sometimes it's not always a number. So to generalize that, give them your impact.
My impact.
Yes.
Okay.
You need to give them context of what your result was. Remember, I swept the floor versus I led a team, decrease sweeping time from 60 minutes to 5 minutes. Tells me a whole lot more as the reader versus you swept the floor.
Okay. Okay. I'll work on it after
Connecting the dots?
Yes, I am.
Very
So
good.
rephrase my summary and go straight to the point.
Yes. Any other questions, TT, before we go to Sophia?
So I wanted to
Extracurricular.
speak.
Oh my God, I didn't realize you had 2 pages.
Yes, I do have to.
So here's my next question to you, TT. We said in design principle number 2 that they're very busy, right? The problem is not 1 page or 2 pages. The problem.
So what I do actually is one page,
hang
front
on,
and back.
hang
Okay.
on. Let me finish this. The problem is relevance. Okay. So program manager, that's kind of like project management, right?
Yes.
Guess what I would do? I would grab some strong bullets, which you did. You had supervised 10 programs. You don't even have to give them all the details about career development programs. Being Character Ninja, supervised 10 plus programs. I mean, they see the title, it's NESB. So they kind of know what it is, right? Networking sessions. So guess what I would do? Remember Benjamin's resume? You don't have to go there. I'm just saying, remember his resume where I asked him the question that I asked Neelam, which one is most impressive? And then he goes, this one, segment 1, this one, segment 2, this one, segment 3. In your case, this sounds like it should be part of your segments that they need to see immediately. I would actually grab this, just like Benjamin did. When you see what your most relevant points are, your curating your highlights, grabbing those bullets, putting it in the summary, and that's how you're relevant immediately. Unlike the way you have it, you're expecting them to read through the whole resume, and you're hoping that they may pick up that you were program manager in extracurricular. So I covered 2 points with what I just pointed out. Extracurricular activities, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You were being complete. Are they all relevant? You decide that. But I saw something was relevant immediately. Your first one, program manager, because you wanted to be in project management. So if I were you, I'm not going to wait for them to read to the bottom because they may never get to the bottom. What if they decided that after half of your first page, you're not relevant? Your resume went to the garbage can. So you see how I was saying earlier that we can get you even more interviews if you're already getting interviews. Questions about what I said? Sometimes I have the issue where I talk about this so much, so I'm making assumptions when I'm speaking, but my message isn't coming across to my listener. So questions about what I just covered so far with TT? Anybody?
Oh, we're good. I'm good.
You're good? All right. I guess it's Sophia's turn. And then I'm going to give you resources, Neelam and TT, as to how to put the improvements that I shared with you. That's why I kept on going back to the resources, because to end this call, you guys are going to have action items, and I'm going to show you where you can find resources to help you with what you need to do. Okay. So now let's go to Sophia. Thank you, ladies. You've been, it looks like Aditya got what he needed. He had to run, maybe. So first question to Sophia, are you handing this directly to the hiring manager, or are you sending this to applicant tracking system?
I'm sending this through applicant tracking systems.
Okay. Problem with applicant tracking systems is it's software and it doesn't recognize columns. Okay. So the way that you have it, you're taking your chances with them, with the ATS interpreting what you have. So, did you have the LinkedIn group open? We're going to come back to this, but I want to start giving you some of those resources, Sophia.
Sorry for jumping in. With what you just said, I have a quick question, if you don't
Go
mind
ahead.
me
Yeah, go
asking.
ahead. While Sophia's
Okay,
getting her
so I
stuff ready.
remember speaking with, because what Sophia did, some recruiters claim to like it.
Well,
I remember
if they see it, that's why, if you notice, my first question to Sophia was, are you handing this or are you sending it
To
to
the
the applicant
ATS.
tracking system?
Yeah.
Did you see how I was very specific, TT?
okay.
If she's handing it, looks beautiful. If she's sending it via applicant tracking system, there might be a problem. So you go to
Yeah, because sorry for cutting, because a recruiter actually from IBM told me to do my resume like that.
okay.
But I'm not a big fan of colors. So I was like,
Well, that's another story that you're bringing to the surface, and I'm glad you're sharing that, TT. If the recruiter told you to do it, do it. But that doesn't apply to everybody.
okay.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that. We're kind of bringing up all sorts of nuances, and I love this. That's why I call it a workshop, and that's why I make it very interactive, so it's relevant to you. So under a hashtag resume, at the top towards the hashtag resume part, Sophia, is that part where it says resources, fourth bullet. Click the web page. And scroll down. If you see, it has a resume template. It's very simple compared to yours, but it's effective for ATS. And you kind of notice that with other folks. Okay. So back to your resume. Can we jump into the content unless you had other questions, Sophia?
Nope.
So you probably got summary from the discussion with TT, right? Do you know what to do?
Mm-hmm.
So how many pages do you have?
I have 2. Well,
Okay,
1.5 technically.
May I see the second page, please?
Yes.
So you have 4 experiences, 3, or actually 6, because you have 3 projects and then 3 experiences, 3 work experiences.
Yes, technically work, I made the mistake of not doing internships during my time in school. I wanted to focus on my studies. So this is my work experience. These are my educational experiences. So obviously I went to IIT, and I also have 2 study abroad experiences.
So I ask you the same question that I asked Neelam when we began. So Sophia, according to the job titles, what job title are you applying to?
I'm mainly applying to entry-level positions, so internships and like junior architect, mainly internship.
Internship. Okay, so it's not full-time. So for internship, it's always, they're going to be looking for education as the first information. So you have that. And then, okay, I'm glad you mentioned that because my brain was still in the full-time. So for internships, it's a little bit less stringent, and you kind of observe this in the job descriptions that they have. They're mostly general because part of the idea of an internship is to give you the opportunity to scope out which part that you want. So let me ask you this question relative to internship. According to the internship job descriptions you're looking at, okay, because you've looked at a few,
Yes.
which one is your segment one, your top priority that you want them to see?
So probably, honestly, my projects tab, because a lot
Yes.
of these internships that I'm applying to are for community-based projects, or
Yes.
that they do a lot of community work, which is all of these. So I
Yes.
feel like I should move that up to the first
Yes.
page, so the first thing that they
I'm
see.
glad you made that call before I made it. So you're learning something from this discussion. Very good. So it would be education and then projects. Now I'm going to drill this down even further, Sophia. Of these three projects, which one is most impressive? According to your knowledge of what you accomplished, your results, okay?
Personally, I think
Hang on.
my last,
It's not personally.
that's true.
It's
That's true. You're
according
right.
to what they're looking for.
So I, I'm trying to rephrase this. So
Yeah.
the
No,
last
this is
project
good.
I find to
I'm
be the
glad.
most
I'm
impressive.
noticing that all your wheels are turning because, I mean, I'll be very honest, right? I'm like a drill sergeant, like talking to. I mean, this is a job search clinic. You guys aren't finding jobs, so I need to like give you the bare truth, right? That's why you're not getting jobs. So, but we're having fun as well, right?
Yes.
So go ahead, Sophia.
The last one is the most impressive,
Okay.
not only uh-huh. Not only
Why?
because it has multiple programs, but it also has a residential program attached to it. So it's
Okay.
not just community, but it's residential, which shows I can do two different programs and mash them together in a way that works.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a feel of the workshops that you have 9 of to bring out what's important. The way you worded it is kind of like what TT and Neelam had originally. They accomplished much, much more, but the way they worded it is kind of like yours. It's not saying a whole lot. If you gave it to a
Mhm.
stranger, I'm like, okay, she just worked in the community, but it's not really telling me that you're good. So
Mhm.
when you listen to the workshops, this is the method. So it's like a brainstorm. So talk to me about project flow, and Bernie, TT, and Neelam will be listening from the perspective of what did Sophia accomplish. So this is going to be a good exercise for you as well, Neelam and TT. So just dump it all on me, and I'll be interrupting you kind of like I was doing with TT earlier. I'm like, how many, how big, who did you work with, that sort of stuff, so
Mhm.
that we're bringing out what you accomplished. Do you
Mhm.
understand the exercise?
Yes.
All right, let's go.
So the Project Flow is a mixed-use community meant for intergenerational households. It's actually located in the 78th, which is a new development to be Chicago's 78th neighborhood. It's located right next to Pinktown Park in Chinatown. So this project, I worked in collaboration with 3 other students. I was mainly in charge
Okay, hang on a
of,
second.
yes.
Collaboration. So you didn't mention that. Collaborated with 3
Yes, so
students.
I have that on my portfolio, but I will include this on the resume.
Yes. And I think that's the point that we brought up earlier where you said you could do a description because you want to catch their attention. If you catch their
Yes.
attention with this. So actually, here's a question for you. I'm obviously not an architecture student, and actually
Mhm.
I have an appointment with Dean Reed so that we can help you guys some more from the perspective of when in your experience so far, do they look at your portfolio first or your resume first?
I'm not 100% sure what they're doing. I feel like they're looking at my resume and then
That's my
kind of
assumption as well, and I'm going to
giving a
clarify
second
that.
glance to my portfolio.
Yeah. And I'm thinking if you don't impress them with your resume, they're not even going to look at your portfolio,
Yes.
is my assumption. But I'm going to find that out shortly when I talk to Dean Reed. So I guess, so assuming we were wrong, you need to hit it from both directions.
Mhm.
Okay. assuming that they were going to look at your portfolio first, the name of the game is the same. You need to impress them with your results and accomplishments. And obviously it's visual and all this stuff, but I'm pretty sure that there are nuances from an architect's perspective that you need to highlight because the hiring architects are looking for that. So I bottom line it from, you need to impress them with what they're looking for. Okay. So you caught that. And I think you're going to add that now into flow, right?
Yes.
So what else were you trying to say, Sophia? About the project?
Describing the project? Yes.
You-
So the project,
You were leading, right?
yes. Well, it was mostly collaboration, but I was really in charge of primarily doing draft work. So our plans, sections, elevations, that was all me. I also worked on the residential aspect all on my own.
Okay.
The other group mates were
So
focused
when you
more
did the
on the marketing
residential,
aspect.
was that just your project by yourself, or was that a project that was a piece of the bigger project?
It was a piece of the bigger project.
So do you see where I'm going with that question? Right? Because you could say you worked on it on your own, but it was really part of this bigger deliverable. That's an
Yes.
accomplishment. So the stuff that I heard, you collaborated with 3 people, you led a certain part, and then you spearheaded work on one of the pieces of this bigger project.
Yes.
Are you catching how we're pulling out the impact?
Yes.
Can you proceed from there?
Yes.
No. I meant, are you able to do this on your own?
Oh,
Can you continue that
yes,
work?
yes.
Okay, so you
Yes,
can
yes,
continue your flow. I want to check in with Titi and Neelam. Did you understand what I just did? Because this applies also to your resumes. Did you understand how I was dissecting
Yeah.
Sophia's tasks? And then we were bringing out why she is great. Good. So Sophia knows what to do. She's going to rearrange the resume. She's going to be talking about the 3. And even in her projects, flow is going to come first. That's her segment 1. What's your segment 2?
My segment 2 is the annex.
Okay. Well, you know how to do that, but according to you, actually it's reverse in the way that you have it. So your resume is eventually going to go flow, the annex, and then the valley.
Yes.
Okay. Can we go back to the front, please? Summary. So do you think that suggestion I gave to TT and what Benjamin applied could be something you will use for your resume?
Yes. I definitely want to get rid of that seeking entry level opportunities. They already know what I'm there for. If I'm applying to internships, I'm looking to learn more about the industry. I'm going to include more of what I've done and
What you've accomplished,
my
not what you've
results.
done. Yes.
Exactly. That's the word. What have I
Yes.
accomplished in my time working in groups as well as individual projects?
Yes.
A lot of times in these groups, I ended up taking the lead and being really like
You
on
need to
top of people
highlight all of
managing.
that. And when you're leading, like
Yes.
TT, how many did you lead? Like TT, right? When I asked her, she was like 10 plus. I'm like, oh my God. Compared to leading, you could have led one person. But when you indicate the actual numbers, the magnitude grows. Did that help for your resume, Sophia?
Yes.
Okay. I'm about ready to give the 3 of you resources and anybody else who's listening to this. Any questions about what we've covered so far? So I'm going to share my screen and I want you guys to follow for what we talked about. And I'll be closing this up. Any final questions, just bring it up. But what I'm giving you is tools so that you can improve your resumes now. We're done with this. We're going to the index. So we're going to hashtag resume. So just for to review what we covered so that you can ask me questions. Resume for starters, I showed the resume guide for the ATS resume for Sophia. If she wanted a simpler version, she could use the resume resources that we have here. And then I showed you the resume workshops. These are 9 hours of group workshops specifically for resumes. Okay, you don't have to listen to all of them, but you had a feel of it from this discussion, and I'm saying you have a vault of more information if you need more. Case studies, I showed you the old versions, the better versions, study all of these. So the part where most of you kind of struggled after you got into the information was scrolling down under case study. There's this part that says describing versus accomplishments and results. This was kind of huge when we started this conversation, right? Even if you guys said that you had good resumes, you notice that you're not necessarily bringing out the better part of what you need to tell them, right? So pop quiz for you guys. You guys are hiring managers, okay? All three of you. And you have three candidates, candidate A, B, and C. Who will you call in for an interview?
C.
Okay, very good. Who else?
C as well.
Very good.
Yeah.
So you guys understand. So the reason you're picking C is the effect that you should be having on the readers of your resumes. Good job, guys. Pass that with flying colors. So that point that talks about describing and accomplishments and results all the way to career log. Career log is a memory jogger. So in this post, you see these check marks. These are the things that you need to be thinking of, whether it's actual experience or experience in the classroom or other projects, dollar saved, work full time reduced, blah, 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 all the way to this one gave an example of poor bullet, better bullet, and best bullet. I don't want you to get the impression that the longer, the better. It's because they highlighted some impact, okay? I don't want you to get that the longer, the better. It's really the impact that they're talking about in this best version. So far, so good. Questions? And then the last piece that I want to give you guys is as you're working on your bullets, you can decide to work with me. Maciek, we're finishing off. So you can listen in if you want, but we're finishing off this previous session. This part where we talked about the workshops and then the case studies in between here is resume follow-up. If you decide that you need my help, aside from using AI, and Maciek is here actually for a resume review. So here's an example of what we just talked about. Kind of like think of TT's bullet on the call earlier. So for example, student, where it says student 1146, the student gave me this, okay? But if you notice for the next part at 11:59, I was probing because it wasn't quite complete. It wasn't giving the impact. So if you notice, I was asking questions, kind of like the experience that you guys had on this call. And then the student goes, should I respond to that? And I said, yeah, please, so that I can help you optimize your verbiage. So the student gave me complete information at 12:12. And since I have the correct information, I became ChatGPT. ChatGPT can do this for you as well, but I did it for the student. I could optimize the data that was now complete. So TT and Neelam, I see that some of this, so try using ChatGPT first, and then reach out to me if you want to for the rest of this. So for this example, this particular student had 4 segments, 4 priorities that they wanted the hiring manager to see. So there's the segment 1 that we took a look at, and then you have segment 2, et cetera, to help you with that. So on top of these 2, for the artificial intelligence that I told you, you could take a look at this. It's still under describing versus accomplishments. This part that says impact using ChatGPT is a video, quick video. And then I also want you to take a look at this optimized using AI. So let me just cover this really quick to end this call with. So this was an example. I'll give you the full. This is all available to you in resources. So the student on Sunday sent me this information. Tuesday I responded. Wednesday. So we were going back and forth, and this is why I kind of suggest ChatGPT. The student wasn't getting it despite a conversation like this. So I said, hey, use AI. And then for this example, I was telling the student, give GPT the details, ask it questions, because all of you know that GPT is only as good as the information that you're asking it. If you're asking it very broad questions, it's not going to give you specifically what you want. So to give you an example, I said, give me 10 revisions of whatever your version is, like TT and Neelam probably already have right now. And then I'm telling GPT, be concise, impactful, and results oriented. And then you don't just cut and paste it. So did you notice how I could ask it to give me one version, or I could ask me to give 10 versions? And the thing that I didn't quite show you, the video that I told you to listen to, I'm telling GPT to ask me questions based on the information that I gave it. Let's just say, like in Sophia's case, it wasn't very explicit about what she accomplished. So she could say, GPT, this is what I have so far, but I want you, GPT, to ask me questions so that it will help you create a more impactful and concise bullets for resume. Final questions? Was this helpful, guys?
Yes, I
So
do. I do
remember
have.
what we said earlier, where you were going to, Maciek said, shared something with
Yeah,
GPT?
there's it's a whole list of specific GPTs. So it's not just it's for like
Just
there's
for
certain ones
additional
just for
choices.
resumes, just for social media content, just for image generation, whatever you want.
Okay. I purposely, I'm hoping the recording captures this. Thank you, Maciek. So let me just close this out for Sophia, TT, and Neelam. Any final questions about
Yes,
their
I
job
do.
search? Go
Yes,
ahead.
I do have a question. Okay, I'm trying to refer to the first question I want to ask is: are we going to have a follow-up meeting after this?
Depends on the results that you share with me. I want you to apply what I taught you first.
Okay, so the second question I want to ask you is regarding the second page, which includes my extracurricular activities.
Mhm.
Do you advise I merge everything to my summary?
Say that again.
The second page or the half
I
page
got the
of.
second page, but I didn't catch the part where extracurricular and
So,
summary.
what do you advise I do? Should I merge everything to my summary, or I should? What do you suggest I do?
What did design principle 1 say? Job description, results and accomplishments relative to the job description. What's your answer with that question?
I didn't get that. Please, can you rephrase it?
That's why we started this whole session with, it's always about the job description and what your accomplishments are relative
Okay,
to the job
okay,
description.
okay,
You're
okay.
asking me about extracurricular. So
Yes,
I'm
yes, yes.
asking you relative to design principle
It's not,
number
yes, it's
1.
not important.
It's not necessarily not important, okay? But you're being relevant. Do you see the
Okay.
difference? That's why I covered the design principles, because that's really the basis of everything. Usually, if you have questions, it's answered by the 2 design principles. I didn't cover 3 and 4. Principle number 3 just says that if you took the time to prepare for your resume, you're going to shine during the interview because you already took that time to talk about results. And design principle number 4 says that, you know, any advice, including the advice that I'm giving on this call, and to your point, TT, you've been hearing, you know, this person said this, they want this, they want that. Well, number 1, if they want it, give it to them. And number 2, any advice that you get is, I mean, you're the one who's looking for the job. So at the end of the day, you make the call as to what it is that you're going to do. Even if Bernie Floresca said X and you decided you wanted to do Y, you're the one who's applying, not me. So you decide. So to finish this call, any questions? Number 1, focus on the job description and then highlight your results relative to that job description. Design principle number 2, they do not have a lot of time. So that's why it's imperative that you connect the dots to them. You want to give them easy, fast access to the information that they want. Okay? Not all the information about you. the information that they want. Make sense, TT?
Yes, it does. I don't know, for some reasons, after I shared my video, after I shared my screen, my video stopped working.
Yeah, no worries. Final questions, the three ladies, actually, because I'm supposed to be in an appointment with Maciek now. So to answer your question, TT, after I see some of the stuff that you sent to me on LinkedIn, I may even say, TT, let's talk one-to-one. All right?
Okay then. Okay then. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for
Thank
attending
you.
this job search
Thank you
clinic.
so much.
Please reach out to me on LinkedIn if you have any other questions. I'm going to stop the recording, and the rest of the ladies can hang up. Thank you again. Thanks for
Okay.
coming.
Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.